And then we have, down here we have Meet the Parents. I believe I showed you this in a update video, but anyway. Yeah, I never saw the other films in the series, so there's Meet the Parents, Meet the Fockers, and Little Fockers. I've not seen any of those, but yeah, Meet the Parents is okay. Next we have, oh yes, Macabre and Mrs. Miller. This, True Grit, The Wild Bunch, and El Topo, those were the films that pretty much changed how Westerns were filmed and how Westerns told their stories. Warren Beatty and Julie Christie. This is an amazing Robert Altman movie. I know there's some people who don't like Warren Beatty, but if you could watch just one, check this out. This is a fantastic Western with essentially a very clever way of telling its story. It's brilliant. Next up, we have Midway. So this is the best film about the Battle of Midway that you could watch. This is the best one. And I say that for more than one reason, because one, it's historically accurate. Two, it doesn't have like, the traditional, view about the Battle of Midway. Also on top of that, it shows the war from both angles, both the Americans and the Japanese. Kind of like Tora did. And it's very accurate. Like, there's some things in the movie that you think are inaccurate, but no, they actually happened. So, it's a really great film. Way better than the Charlton Heston Midway. Alright, next we have Moana. Why are they making a sequel to this? I have no idea. I don't even care, whatever. I like Moana. I do. Don't get me wrong. I do like Moana. I like the two main characters. I like Moana as a princess. I think she's really great. A great role model and everything. I like the animation. I like a few of the songs. Not all of them, but I do like a few of them. But there's something about this movie that I'm just not the biggest nut of. I think it's good. I think it's watchable. I think it's enjoyable. I think there's a lot of great stuff in it. But it's just not, I think I would view Moana as like one of the last good original Disney movies. It's one of the last good ones, so. And yes, this is really tight, so I am going to take one of these out, which is The Miracle Worker. An amazing drama. I talked about this before, but yeah, amazing drama about Helen Keller. And then next up, we have Mighty Joe Young. This is the third film, and some like to call it the unofficial Kong trilogy, but it's not really. Anyway, we watched this recently. It is awesome. Absolutely amazing. Not, I would call this like a successor to King Kong in a way, but again, we have a similar story about a gorilla who is taken from his home, and then only this time he's like put into a nightclub, and he has a companion played by Terry Moore, who she is the only person who understands him, and I think the dad was an archaeologist or something, I don't remember, and then he's like taken to a nightclub and owned by Robert Armstrong, and yeah, this movie has a lot going for it. I love the scenes of like, him trying to understand why everything is happening to him. I love how, she sees his heart and how he doesn't really deserve to like be there because he's too, compassionate and everything. And later on in the film where, I'm not going to give the context away, but basically there's a part where he saves a group of people from a burning orphanage. And it's the only color scene in the movie, but yeah. The effects were actually done by Ray Harryhausen, who was taught under the leadership of King Kong animator Willis O'Brien. And it's just so fantastic movie. Love it. Mildred Pierce, oh my god. If you want a film noir told from a woman's point of view, this is it. This is the one you should watch. Joan Crawford's Oscar-winning performance as a woman who she has a daughter, and I don't want to give a plot away. I really, really don't. I don't want to give a plot away because I'll spoil it, but this is absolutely amazing. There's this, somebody suspects that Joan Crawford may have committed murder, and she tells her story about, her wife and how, her relationship with her daughter and everything. I don't want to give it away, but it has one of the best twists in film history. This is one of the 10 best film noirs I could recommend to you. It's just beautiful. $1 Million Baby, Best Picture winner 2004. Clint Eastwood, Morgan Freeman, Hilary Swank. I haven't seen this in quite some time, but I remember really liking it. But Hilary Swank wanting to be a boxer, and Clint doesn't want to teach her, but, Morgan Freeman knows what fighting spirit is. But he's kind of like the polar opposite of Quint. It's really great. Really, really, I haven't seen this in a long time, but I remember really liking that film. Milk. Sean Penn won the Oscar for portraying Harvey Milk, the first openly gay senator in the 1970s, at a time when homosexuality was being celebrated during San Francisco, and he's up against I'm blanking on his name right now, but he was the guy who would eventually I'm blanking. Something white. Anyway, yeah, this is blanking on the first name. This is a really great performance by Sean Penn. Absolutely, really great drama. Although, if you want to check out a companion piece to that movie, watch the documentary "The Times of Harvey Milk." That's a really great film too. Minority Report. I have not seen this. Yeah, I have not seen this. This Steven Spielberg movie. I have not seen this. I've heard good things, though. Tom Cruise and... oh boy, who else? Colin Farrell. I've heard of this. Isn't this the one where, he's trying to stop, him, being accused of murder or something, and, I don't know. I don't really know. Haven't seen that. Miracle. I love Miracle. The film about the Miracle on Ice event at the 1980 Lake Placid Winter Olympics, in which the United States hockey team led by Herb Brooks were up against the Soviet Union, in which the Soviet Union essentially dominated the world of hockey for 20 years. They've been winning ever since 1960. Coach who wanted to beat them at their own game, which was ice hockey. This would eventually lead into the Miracle on Ice event. Really great. And the fact that they tried to honor the original event while simultaneously telling a really great story about who Herb Brooks was, why the Miracle on Ice, how the event happened. This movie does a really respectful job at portraying history, and because a lot of Disney movies aren't necessarily known for accuracy, but this one gets it right, or at least a good amount of it right. And yeah, this was absolutely amazing. I love that movie. Miracle on 34th Street. I already talked about that movie in my Christmas video. For the love of God, do not watch the color version. But this is an amazing classic film about faith, even if it's not really about Santa Claus. I mean, it may look like it's about Santa Claus, but it's actually believing in some kind of faith during the holidays, and that's incredible. Miracle on St. Anna. This is the true story of the Buffalo Soldiers, also known as the 92nd Infantry Division, which was an all African American unit during World War II. And I believe one of them was trying to find this statue head, I believe. It's been a while since I've seen that one. Misery. Now, I really need to get around to this one because it's a Stephen King adaptation. As Kathy Bates and an Oscar-winning turn as an obsessed fan of James Caan's work. And did I mention Stephen King? Did I mention that? Yeah, but I really need to get around to it. I really do. Actually, let me take that out because I'm going to watch that pretty soon. There's a reminder, because sometimes if I have it on my shelf and I like tell myself to watch it, I won't watch it, so I'll take that out for the time being. Misfits. I don't remember this one, to be honest. Marilyn Monroe and Clark Gable. Who directed this one? Oh, John Huston, yeah. I don't remember that one, to be totally honest. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Again, this is another movie dealing with Tim Burton's theme of misfits, but this is one of the better examples. Thank you, Shri, for giving me this. I saw it. It was fine. I like the fantasy elements, but still not a Tim Burton fan, but that's one of the better ones, though. The Missing. Okay, so this is very interesting. What we have here is a Western horror movie of sorts. Cate Blanchett's trying to find her daughter, and Tommy Lee Jones is her dad, who leads him down a very strange path. I'm not going to give much away because, Evan Rachel Wood, yeah, Evan Rachel Wood. That's underrated, actually. A lot of people don't talk about that one. Mission to Mars, I don't know why I have this. This is one of those DVDs I got like a million years ago when I was a kid, so I swear to God, I don't remember this movie at all. I haven't seen this since I was a kid. I didn't even know it was directed by Brian De Palma. That wasn't until I saw the De Palma documentary, and he basically said that, like, he was doing things, he was being too ambitious with this one. And I can see why, because nobody remembers this. Nobody remembers this movie at all, not even me, so... And I don't really know why I still have it, so maybe I'll get rid of it, maybe it's not that bad, I don't know. Whatever. Moby Dick, oh my god. This is the best adaptation of a Herman Melville story. Gregory Peck owns it as Captain Ahab. And what's funny about this is that this is probably my favorite revenge story. Do you know why? I've said before, I don't like revenge stories. But the reason why I like this one is because it's really more of a cautionary tale. There's a good amount of allegories involving Captain Ahab and his feud with the whale, and how the whale is sort of, a sad caricature of ourselves, really. But if you've seen The Whale, you probably know what I'm referring to. But basically, yeah, amazing. Mommy Dearest. You know, a lot of people have labeled this as a cult film. Mostly because of the bad acting and the bad dialogue and the whole wire hangers thing. But no, this is no comedy. This is a very serious drama concerning child abuse. This is based on Christina Crawford's relationship with her mom, adoptive mom, Joan Crawford. How, she struggled with alcoholism, how she, even though she wanted to be a mom, she was not a very kind person. She was very demanding. She was very controlling and at times abusive. And yeah, this is no comedy at all. A lot of people the issue here, I think, is just bad direction. I think that's the reason why people view it as a cult film, because of the way it was directed. But that's like calling a monster horror movie. It's like, it's not. No, it's it's a misunderstanding of the whole intentions. And Mommy Dearest, I think, it's not. I don't really think it deserves all the scorn and cult fandom and the whole. Which, by the way, the infamous no wire hangers scene really happened. Yeah, that's not funny. Not at all. Monster, this is fantastic. Getting back to Monster. This is a character study on Irene Warnos, a convicted killer, and it understands her psychology and everything that she how her mind worked, and yeah, this is a big character study, but a really good one. Charlize Theron's Oscar-winning performance as Eileen, and Christina Ricci's in here as well. Monster in Law, decent rom-com with Jane Fonda and Jennifer Lopez. Haven't seen this one in a while, actually. But I don't remember the plot, so I'm just gonna move on. Monster Squad. Okay, this one. The funny thing about Monster Squad is that I did watch this last year, and truth be told, I think it's just okay. I love how they try to, have like the monsters, Dracula, Wolfman, the Mummy. I like how they try to have them form, one big unit and everything. So that was kind of cool. But the downside to that is you have Frankenstein being like the good guy in it, which is fine. But I felt like it was more of a rip-off of like Breakfast Club meets Fright Night. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't. Sure, it's decent, Halloween movie for monster lovers, but I don't know, it's just okay. It's just okay in my book. Watchable, yes, but anyway. Monster that challenged the world. Oh. Instant terror, just add water. What the hell is that thing? Is it like a giant bug or something? I don't know, it's like a giant caterpillar. Monsters Crash the Pajama Party. Oh my god. If you never heard of this, you need an education. So during the 1950s and 60s, I'm not sure about 70s, certain theaters would host what was known as the Midnight Spook Show. And basically what would happen is at a certain point in a movie that was specifically designed for these things, particularly Monsters Crash the Pajama Party, they would have actors playing as the monsters. They would leap off the screen through, like, I don't know, some kind of curtain thing in the back or something, and they would actually interact with the audience. So they could take a random person into the audience and then put them in the theater through some kind of effect. And sometimes they were dressed up as the monsters, sometimes they would have magic shows, sometimes they would have little things playing in the background. They would have all kinds of different things. And mostly teenagers hung out around these places because these were mostly designed for like a teenage audience. They weren't necessarily designed for families, so that was kind of a whole mythos that one day you would see an interactive movie, other times you would see magic shows, other times you would see light displays, other times you would have fortune tellers, other times miscellaneous stuff would happen basically. And this DVD put out by Something Weird Video perfectly captures that. So they would have a movie, but also they would have all these. Sorry about the shaking, guys. All these. So they would have all these different little films that were specifically designed. These are perfect for Halloween, and I mean this DVD is just loaded. Like I actually popped it in last year, and it is absolutely amazing. Like sometimes the menus are designed so that you won't even know what you're clicking on sometimes. And as for the movie itself, it's only an hour long. It's crap, but it's like really funny actually. But yeah, please pick this DVD up. Watching Bat for Halloween as I'm recording this. It's beginning of October. And actually sometimes they would have trailers for upcoming spook shows. So you would see Dracula, Frankenstein in person, and so forth. They would have all these different gimmicks and stuff. Yeah, it was awesome. And that DVD captures what it was like at the time. Alright, next we have the Monty Python movies. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. This is one of my favorite comedies of all time. Just so funny. This is just absolute hilarious. Taking everything that the Monty Python gang learned from Monty Python's Flying Circus and putting it onto a celluloid canvas. And the whole thing about King Arthur trying to get the Holy Grail and all the shenanigans and stuff that happens is just amazing. I don't want to give anything away because I don't want to spoil the jokes, but if you can only watch one British comedy, watch that one. Life of Brian. Monty Python movie number 2. It's okay. I'm not the biggest fan of this one. I think a lot of the jokes, like the idea of what would happen if Jesus was not the Messiah, but rather some random guy, it kind of poses that question, but it's okay. I think a lot of people misunderstood this movie. The Hick critic actually pointed out that it's actually a satire on religious fundamentalism, not religion in general. And my second favorite Monty Python movie, The Meaning of Life. That's great if these are actually in alphabetical order. But anyway, The Meaning of Life, this is great. It's got a lot of different segments. Yeah, there's some stuff in here that don't work, but there's a good amount of stuff that do work. So if I were to rank these in if we were to give these Olympic medals, Monty Python and the Holy Grail would get gold, The Meaning of Life would get silver, and Life of Brian would get bronze. And then up next we have Mortal Kombat! Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I saw this after I saw the new Mortal Kombat, and depending on my mood, I'll either say that the original is better than the new one, or vice versa. And I am going to review this on Video Game Celluloid, but if you want to know my thoughts on it now, I think it's a good video game movie. I had a lot of fun with this one. All the characters are here for the most part. The environments are very similar to what you would see in the game, and overall it's just it's a much better adaptation than something like the original Super Mario Bros. You know, it's better than you think. But then again, the new one is also pretty good too, in its own way, so I don't have Mortal Kombat Annihilation for obvious reasons, but if you want me to get Mortal Kombat Annihilation, I will. But only for the sake of reviewing it and basically tearing it apart. Anyway, Mulan. Yes, I already talked about this in my Disney update video, so I'm not going to talk too much about it again. But basically, this is a great Disney Renaissance film. Very good role model, too. Somebody who took over her dad's place to fight for Hans and had to overcome sexism in order to become who she is by the end of the movie. I remember a lot of the songs in it. I remember Reflection. I remember I'll Make a Man Out of You. I also remember Mushu, voiced by Eddie Murphy. I think Mulan's voiced by Judy Kahn, but I don't remember. But yeah, this is a great Disney Renaissance film. It's been a long time since I've seen this. And yes, I am glad to say that I own a copy of Mulan that does not have the god-awful, insult to humanity Mulan 2. That movie is one of the worst animated films of all time. And as for the live-action remake, I don't know. Alright, up next we have, if I can get this out of here, Moonstruck. I really like this movie, actually. This is a movie, Cher won an Oscar for portraying a Italian-American who ends up falling in love with Nicolas Cage. It's a really touching movie, actually. I like the idea of how the moon, the attraction of the moon brings people together. Kind of that idea. Olympia Dacascos also won an Oscar for portraying Cher's mom, I believe. Yeah, but I really like that movie. My Week with Marilyn. the film about the making of The Prince and the Showgirl with Michelle Williams as Marilyn Monroe and Kenneth Branagh as Laurence Olivier. I have not seen this movie yet. I've also not seen Prince and the Showgirl yet, which is funny. I should have by now. Next is the Muppet movie. Yep, this is the original. The first Muppet movie released in 1979. Even though I love The Great Muppet Caper more than this, I still really love this movie. I mean, it has everything. It has memorable characters, it's fun, it's funny, there's fourth wall breaking, there's good songs, including the Oscar-nominated Rainbow Connection, and overall it's just a really sweet movie. It's a really sweet movie, and really memorable. Well, the one thing I don't like is, on every home video release of this movie, they completely omit a documentary about the making of a film called The Muppets Go Hollywood, I think it's called. Yeah, why they don't put that in, I don't know. But whatever. My Big Fat Greek Wedding. This is a very interesting rom-com. The whole thing about Windex solving everything became sort of like a punchline for, the whole, you could just solve everything with the simplest things. I mean, I got the symbolism, but yeah, not everyone's gonna get the joke. You might actually really like this movie, so give it a try. Next up, we have The Morning After. Dick Van Dyke plays a alcoholic who his alcoholism is affecting the lives of those around him, including his family and himself. Now, when this movie came out, Dick actually was one of the first celebrities to openly acknowledge that he had a drinking issue. And this movie came out around the same time that he acknowledged it. And it's a very, very interesting film. I love it when comedic actors do drama because it actually shows their more talented side. This is one of my favorite TV movies. Actually, you know what? No. This is actually my favorite TV movie. Somebody who, is known for lighthearted films, and here comes this movie that showcases the side effects of alcoholism, and this is just an amazing film. The downside is that because of the fact that this is a TV movie, it doesn't have the same support. This came from Mod Cinema, and basically what they do is they basically put rare TV movies and incredibly hard to find films and put them on DVD. And I believe they put out a new print of this movie, so I have to look into that. But yeah, it's kind of a shame that that film doesn't have any kind of official home video release, because I would have bought it. They put The Running Stumbles, also with Dick Van Dyke, on an official release, so I don't see why The Morning After can't have the same love and affection as some other movies. But I love The Morning After, and I think this is my second favorite film to deal with alcoholism. My personal favorite being Days of Wine and Roses. And I believe it's actually, now that I think about it, it's actually being shown in alcohol rehab centers. I believe. I could be wrong, though. So that is amazing to me. Next is Moon with Sam Rockwell. Did you ever see the Apple TV Plus show For All Mankind? There's a subplot in that movie about how one of the main characters is stranded on the moon. That's basically what this is. Oh, it came out a lot earlier. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but this was independent movie, and a well done film from what I remember. Next up is Moonlight, Best Picture winner in 2016. This is one of my favorite films of all time. This is a movie that I love so much. I've probably seen this maybe like 3 or 4 times. It's one of my favorite films. A film dealing with growing up in a poor part of Florida, dealing with individuality, homosexuality, lack of a father figure, lack of a mother figure, a mom who's addicted to drugs. It's just a really profound film with a really huge impact. And Barry Jenkins, who directed this, I believe after this he directed If Beale Street Could Talk. And you have an Oscar-winning performance by Mahershala Ali, a really fantastic story, memorable characters, fantastic acting, and it's just one of my favorite films of all time. This is one of the worst. This is a terrible movie. I have tried, I made fun of this when I was talking about my Elvis video, but man, this is a bad movie. The idea of love, all you need is love, 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 love. What is love? What is this and that? It gets really annoying after a while. And it's a jukebox musical, but none of the songs really make any sense why they're there. The cinematography is too close and all over the place. The editing's terrible. The acting is over the top. Yeah, I just don't like that movie at all. I really don't like Moulin Rouge. And the fact that they made a Broadway musical out of it, it's just absurd. I have no idea what this is. Again, this is another one of those movies I've had in my collection for years, and I don't even know what this is. Mothman Prophecies? What is that? Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. I love this film. Love this movie. This is a movie by Frank Capra, and I love Frank Capra. He's one of my favorite directors. And this is a really interesting film about a simple guy who's very quirky, very nice. He inherits a lot of money, and he goes to... Where does he go again? He goes to New York, yeah. This is just a really sweet film. Very funny. Love it. It's also a film dealing with individuality. How sometimes we're all very quirky. Sometimes we have our quirks, but everyone's kind of like that. Everybody has their own things that make them who they are. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Mr. Holland's Opus. This has never been re-released. It hasn't. And that's kind of a shame because this movie is criminally underrated. Richard Dreyfuss plays a teacher who inspires his students. He wants to set up an orchestra for himself. He wants to be like a professional composer, and he inspires his students. And yeah, this is just great. A lot of people don't talk about that one. Mr. Mom. I love Mr. Mom. Terry Garr plays a workaholic, and she has to leave for her job, so who has to take care of her kids? Her husband, Michael Keaton. This is just a hilarious film. This is just really funny. And the whole scene where the house appliances and stuff, they go haywire. and he attacks a vacuum cleaner. It's just funny. Well, here's one I haven't gotten around to yet. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Another Frank Capra film. Another film with James Stewart and Jean Arthur, who we just talked about a minute ago. Jean Arthur was also in Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. So, yeah, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. I've heard good things about this one, so I definitely need to check this one out. I also need to get a new copy of Mrs. Doubtfire because for some reason my copy doesn't want to work after 20 minutes. I don't know why. But yeah, this is one of Robin Williams' best movies. I know some people are not into Robin Williams' comedy. They prefer his drama, but he was able to do both. And yeah, oh my god, this movie is great. This is really great, really funny. It's also sweet too at times. It's also very sweet in parts. Mrs. Miniver. Best Picture winner 1942, and for a very good reason. You see, when this movie came out, we had just entered World War II the year before. And so we needed a film to inspire people. And Mrs. Miniver came along. Greer Garson won an Oscar for portraying a woman who she and her husband, played by Walter Pidgeon, are hiding in these bunkers away from airstrikes. And this was a very inspiring film at the time when we needed some kind of inspiration. And it's a really great film, essentially dealing with the whole concept of war. And if you think back to when we were talking about Best Years of Our Lives, that film was very important and inspired a lot of people too. So Mrs. Miniver helped people be inspired to win the war, while Best Years of Our Lives helped us get through the traumas of it. And then next we have The Mummy, This is the 1932 original film with Boris Karloff. I remembered the line in the movie. I just can't think of it right now. Anyway, yeah, this is great. 1931 and 32 were a fantastic year for horror because they were fantastic years for horror because we had Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy. We had the essential masterpieces, and you can't take away from that. So, now we get into the Brendan Fraser mummies, which you guys seem to know about. I have seen this. I saw this a long time ago. It was okay. Arnold Vosloo's in this? Yeah, Arnold Vosloo. Anyway, yeah, this movie was pretty entertaining on its own. Obviously not, it was not really inspired by the original Mummy, but there's some scenes from that movie I remember. I don't have Mummy Returns, but I do have the third one, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, which, honestly, you know what? I don't remember this movie at all. Oh yeah, Jed Wee's in this one. Yeah, I don't remember this movie at all, but I just remember seeing it many, many years ago. I do have a Scorpion King, but that's under S. And then we have a Tom Cruise Mummy, the Tom Cruise one, which I talked about before. Now, I want to explain something real quick. I have no issue with this movie on principle because this movie was trying to set up a whole dark universe thing, but by the time this came out, Universal had already done the shared universe with the classic monsters, and Marvel kind of took them up on it with the MCU, and then DC came around with DCEU, and this came around, it was just too little too late. I liked the production design. I liked the Mummy Princess Amenet instead of Imhotep. It had interesting ideas, but the problem was they were trying to set up 3 movies when they should have been setting up 1. And the Princess Amenet's motivations are terrible, not explained whatsoever, and overall it's just brain rot, there's an obvious reason why the Dark Universe flopped after 1 movie, and this movie's the reason why. Munich. Oh my god. This movie is so underrated. I'm honestly surprised that more people don't talk about this. This is one of Steven Spielberg's best movies, and it's one of his most underrated, actually. This is the story of the men who, after the Munich Olympics tragedy in which Palestinians murdered 11 Israeli athletes at the Munich Olympics, these people formed a team to try and to kill the men responsible, while simultaneously they are dealing with their own personal feelings of revenge. This is just a very great film, really excellent, decently accurate in parts. And then next we have a couple of the Muppets movies. We have a couple of the Muppet films. So this is the 2011 film with Jason Segel and Amy Adams, which I have not seen yet. And then we have Muppets Take Manhattan. So this is the one where they were trying to put on a Broadway show. Actually, is this the one where they separate at the end? Is this the one where they separate? I don't know. There's one scene in one of these movies where they separate. I don't remember why, but I did see Muppets from Space, which is a film I hadn't seen since I was a kid, and it was decent. Alright, next we have Murder on the Orient Express. I had no idea how twisted Agatha Christie was until I saw this movie, and oh my god, I love this. This is a really great murder mystery with a really, really great twist. I remember when Nun had a very similar twist style, but anyway, you have a great cast. Albert Finney, Anthony Perkins, John Gielgud, Ingrid Bergman, who won her second Oscar, Warren Bacall, oh god, who was in here? Martin Balsam, Jacqueline Bisset, Sean Connery, Vanessa Redgrave, Richard Widmark. Oh my god, just great cast. I have no idea why this movie has not been re-released yet, because I so love some kind of retrospective documentary on the impact of this, because oh my god. Here is one of my favorite films of all time, The Music Man. This is one of the best stage to film transitions translations of all time. Robert Preston is Harold Hill. I mean, oh my god, this movie is so great. This is one of the musicals that I grew up on when I was a kid. And my mom, she introduced me to these musicals, and she introduced me to Rodgers and Hammerstein, Werner and Lowe, and The Music Man. So this was one of the ones we watched a good amount of times. Robert Preston, Shirley Jones, Buddy Hackett, Hermione Gingold, and yes, a very young Ron Howard is in here. I actually met Shirley Jones in the movie. She autographed that for me. And when I met her, I asked her like what were the best films that she did, and she did. She mentioned that her best films were the Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals of Oklahoma and Carousel. And then she said to me, "Have you seen Elmer Gantry?" And I said no. And she says, "Yeah, you're too young to watch that. I Pray a Prostitute." I just thought it was so funny meeting her. Anyway, yeah, The Music Man, a very excellent film, an excellent musical. This is actually one of my favorite musicals of all time. Such a cheerful, upbeat musical, but one that deals with con men who eventually see the light, and they realize that like what they do in a town can affect people. And it's interesting how the characters are so vibrant and so interesting. I just love that movie. I love that musical. All right, up next we have Mutiny on the Bounty. So this is the original from 1935, winner of the Best Picture Oscar, starring Charles Warren and Clark Gable. The story was actually based on an actual mutiny that took place on the SS Bounty during the 1700s. Fletcher Christian could not stand Captain Bligh's dictatorship on a ship, and so he and a crew, Fletcher and the crew, decided to mutiny. You can look up a history yourself. It's excellent. That one I've seen the most. I do have the 1962 one as well, with Marlon Brando and Trevor Howard. Funny trivia, the ship that was used in the movie, in this particular version, actually became a real ship that was in operation until a hurricane destroyed it. But anyway, yeah, this was directed by Louis Milestone, who also directed All Climber Western Front. The original one, not the Netflix one. And yeah, this one, I actually haven't seen this yet. My Cousin Vinny. I actually rewatched this recently. This is one of my favorite comedies. I absolutely love this movie. This is one of my favorite comedies. Like, this is a film that I can recommend to anyone, and everybody will know what this is. Yeah, Joe Pesci defending Ralph Macchio, and you have Marissa Tomei, who won an Oscar for portraying Joe Pesci's annoying fiance. And you have Frankenmonster Fred Gwynne as the judge, and this movie is just like absolutely funny. If I can recommend 10 comedies to you, this would be one of them. This is just such a funny movie. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen a courtroom comedy before, but this is easily one of the best you can find. But I've seen this at least maybe 3 times now, but love that movie. Next we have My Bloody Valentine 3D. This is actually a remake. I have not seen the original. This was during a time they were trying to like bring back the horror 3D film, and this was one of the better examples. It wasn't bad actually. It wasn't like terrible, considering I had not seen the original. My Darling Clementine. There have been many films about Wyatt Earp, and the only reason why this one has even any slight of personal connection is because the director John Ford actually did meet the real Wyatt Earp. Sometime I think in the 1900s, I believe. I could be wrong though. Anyway, yeah, this movie's great from what I remember, but it's been a long time since I've seen it, so I'm not going to claim anything. But yeah, you have Henry Fonda. This movie's good. It's been a while since I've seen that one though. Let me take that out a minute. What's in the Mary back here? My Fellow Americans. This is kind of an underrated comedy with Jack Lemmon and James Gardner. They play 2 former presidents who are trying to take down a corrupt current president played by Dan Aykroyd. Yeah. Anyway, this movie's okay. Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was all right. It was okay. It wasn't like ha 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 funny, but it was okay. My Cousin Vinny is way better than this.